Rupal, good morning. This is your host, Minal Bukhari. Our today's guest is passionate about building teams in the data space and has been recruiting data engineers and machine learning engineers for most of her life. Well, let's welcome Rupal on 10 Minutes of Hiring Wisdom. Hi, Rupal. How are you doing today?
Hi, Manal. I'm good. Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be on this
Of
platform.
course. Of course, it's a pleasure having you on as a guest and learning from your experience, especially hiring data engineers and machine learning engineers. So, Rupal, can you tell us about where you're currently working and what your role is?
I'm currently working at a company called Tiger Analytics. We are into consulting, but predominantly into the data space. So, all our hiring is around data scientists, machine learning engineers, data architects, and my favorite quote is data is the next oil. So, all our hiring is around data, and that's how our projects are aligned.
Okay, and as in like, were you always interested in data specifically, or as in like, is it just because you know it's the new trend and you think as in like you could be successful if you specifically pursue a career in that? What got you into data?
Yeah, that was one. So earlier, I was into software development hiring and then moved towards cloud hiring. And then eventually, my interest peaked when I saw these new trends of machine learning, data science, and whatnot fields coming up. And it was like picking up a new skill for me as well to hire data engineers, to hire machine learning engineers. I had to know what it is all about, what it takes to be a good data engineer, what it takes to be a good machine learning engineer. So, yes, it was a great learning experience, but then it has sucked me. So, it has actually positively sucked me in, and everywhere we see, right, it's all about data.
That's very true. That's very true. So as in like it was a realization for you which made you realize that you were actually really interested in it, which sounds amazing because you're definitely pursuing a career in which you're interested in. So that sounds amazing, Rupal. Thank you for sharing that.
Thanks.
So Rupal,
Like
can you
sorry,
of
it's
course
not work
go ahead.
anymore.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it's not work
It's not
anymore,
work anymore.
right? Yeah,
Exactly. So as in like because you know you're a part of something where you're interested in contributing, which is something that essentially matters at the end of the day.
true, true.
So
Totally agree
Rupal,
with
can
you. Mhm.
you yeah. So Rupal, can you as in like tell us about your specific company, as in like whether you guys are hiring? You mentioned that as in like it's all about hiring data engineers, machine learning engineers. What skills are you looking for? Are there any specific positions that are open?
Oh, yeah, we are always hiring. So data engineers are, the more we get, happier we are. So skills wise, we look for strong development background, app development. It can be in Python, Java, or Scala. Outside that, a very strong SQL, and then any associated public cloud services, right? It can be AWS, Azure, or GCP. Any cloud experience is fine.
Okay.
So we have three practices where we would hire data engineers either with AWS exposure or with Azure exposure, with GCP exposure, or we also hire people who are very strong in their fundamentals. They're good with Python and SQL, and then we can absorb them and enable them for the skills.
That makes sense. That makes sense. So it's three different domains. And as in like are you guys open to global hiring or are you specifically hiring within the US?
No, we are open for global hiring as well. We have recently opened up offices in Canada and UK, so we are open for global hiring.
Oh wow. So as in like the pandemic actually was a blessing for you guys because you guys expanded. And how has that been working with the remote team specifically in different countries?
Yes, everybody has fallen into the new routine. Now we have evolved as human beings. We have found out our ways, what works best for us, and work is as usual. Even if you are not in offices, that's fine.
That's very true. That's very true. I think adaptation is something that humans are good at, especially if humans like know that situation is here to stay. So I think COVID, we don't know when it's going to end. So I think it's better if we actually accept and just make the best out of the situation.
Yep, true, very true.
So Rupal, you've been working as a technical recruiter for this company specifically. According to you, what are some problems that hiring companies face when they're looking for talent, according to you?
Finding talent itself is a challenge, good talent. anywhere.
Yeah,
I mean, looking for a good talent is always, and these are evolving fields, right? They are still not stabilized. So yeah, it's a very niche skill, and the market for these niche skills are also very less. Very few people who have now. People are still exploring machine learning. It's still a very new domain. So yes, finding good people is a challenge for us.
that makes sense. And how do you cater to this problem, for example? As in, like, the problem exists, you've identified that, yes, finding the right talent is an issue itself. But how do you solve this problem in your company?
So in the present company or earlier companies, right, whatever skill set is needed, we have our own challenges. So earlier also, if there's a skill set, we look at the aptitude of a person. Okay, if a person has, we need X, Y, Z, but if a person has X and Y, something that we cannot live with, and Z is something that they can pick up on the go, then that's fine. We can go ahead and hire them. Specifically,
Okay. So,
locations wise, demographic wise, if we have challenge in certain locations, then we have to show flexibility and hire people wherever they are available or where they are fine. Now that we have virtual, so we have lot more open lot more doors with flexibilities.
that makes sense. And according to you specifically, what is something specifically for data engineers and machine learning engineers that would make them successful? Like, you would be like, okay, this is a person that I would want to be a part of my team. Like, how can people do that to make themselves stand out amongst thousands of other applicants that are applying for jobs?
So coming to that, what I have seen is applicants, especially people in the 4 to 6 or 4 to 8 years experience, they tend to put a lot of skills in their resume. Hiring managers or us recruiters will look at a resume for 30 seconds max and figure out whether we want to go ahead or not. Don't put too much of jumbo lingo in your resume. Be very specific, concise, precise. So even what will happen is putting too many skills, then you will be evaluated for those skills. And if you're not up to the mark, you're gone in the first round itself. So just focus on your core strengths, put them in the resume, and elaborate it in your roles and responsibilities. What you have done as an individual contributor. A lot of times I see did this, did that, but it was all we. But again, what was your
Yeah.
individual contribution in that project is what is of more interest to us.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, especially me, I used to have this fear of like not putting in all the information. Although I realized later on that it wasn't the best idea because based on every role, you should focus on the information that would be most important to that specific role. So thank you for sharing that. I never knew that recruiters only look at the resume for 30 seconds, but that does make sense because so many people apply to the same job.
Absolutely,
So
and we
thank you
are
for sharing
we are. I
that.
mean, we have now everything is through an ATS. So at an average, we will receive X number of applications. We have only as much time to review those X number, and sometimes the ATS suggests us resumes based on the keyword search. So what many applicants do is keep their resumes attractive to the ATS so that it gets shortlisted in the ATS.
Okay.
But after there, it just drops off or becomes disqualified. And again, what happens is once the resume is disqualified and you apply once again into the ATS, recruiters check, okay, this resume was disqualified again. So less preference because it was disqualified earlier. So it's really important to look at the job description and then apply rather than putting in a ton of
Wow.
keywords and making it ATS friendly.
Well, that's very insightful. So thank you so much for sharing that, Rupal. Other than that, I see that you've been, as in like you're hiring for a lot of roles. So if people reach out to me specifically from AWS, Azure, or even like Python, Java, or if anyone specializes in those specific skills, I will be sure to forward those resumes to you.
I
Thank you
would be
so
very
much.
thankful to you, Minal. I would be really very thankful because
Of
I'm
course.
always looking for data engineers and machine learning engineers.
Of course, sounds good. I know a lot of people that are actually looking for those specific roles that are from developing countries such as India. So I would be more than happy to forward those resumes to you. Thank you so much, Rupal. Have a good rest of your day.
You too. Have a nice one. Thanks, Minal.